Hello, it's Phil here at digitaldjtips.com with a look at this, the Allen & Heath Xone 23 2-channel entry-level mixer. Now it's styled like the Allen & Heath DB2 and DB4 higher end mixers, but it's really stripped down. However, it does have a few little bells and whistles and twists all of its own. So let's have a talk through some of those now. Firstly though, as a digital DJ, and I'm presuming you're watching this as a digital DJ, why would you want something like this? Well, there's actually loads of reasons, and I'll touch on just a few of them now. You might be using your digital DJ software in HID mode with CDJs, for instance, and feeding the audio from the CDJs straight into a mixer, in which case you don't even need a sound card. You might have a setup, a minimal setup like I've got here. I've got Traktor running off camera, and I've got it running through a little Traktor Audio 2 sound card. Very versatile little setup, and both outputs of the sound card going into a channel each here. You might want to do that and then have your old-fashioned record decks here. Basically, these things are like the Swiss Army knife of the DJ world. You might want to plug your DJ controller through one of these and use the superior mic channel on the Allen & Heath mixer. What you tend to find with real mixers like this is they have a lot of features that you don't find on the cut-down mixers that you find in most DJ controllers, most all-in-one devices. You'll know when you want a 2-channel mixer. So assuming you're kind of like half thinking, yeah, it's time. Well, let's have a look at what this one's got for you. Well, to start with, it looks like the DB2 and the DB4. As I say, it's kind of quite a modern looking thing, quite compact. It's got these holes here so you can mount it on flat flush on a surface or in a case, but just be aware that on the front of it is a headphone socket, so you need to make an allowance for reaching that. A little nod to modernity there. You've got the small and the large headphone sockets. So have a look around the back of the mixer before we move on to the top panel. It's got 2 sets of inputs for the left and right channels, line and phono. Phono being, of course, record decks. No way of switching that phono into line, so you can't make it a 4-line input mixer, or rather there's no way without taking the panel off and soldering, removing a resistor. So it might be something you want to think twice about if you're not a dab hand with a soldering iron. A switch would have been nice for that. There's an effects send and return loop for putting an external effects unit in, like a Pioneer RMX 1000 for instance, and there's a button on the front which will switch that on or off. But really, apart from the on-off button there's no real benefit to having that because you can't put individual channels through it. So a little bit curious, that feature. And then the output, well, you've got master output and you've also got record output, and you've got booth output as RCAs, which is nice. Now the power is through this DC transformer. I would have preferred to have seen the power be a proper, plug this IEC kettle lead. It's one of those big leads, plug that straight into the back of the mixer. It just means you're not carrying this around with you as well. So I found that a little bit disappointing. So let's move on to the top of the mixer. Now this is nice. Instead of having one gain control on a switch for the 2 inputs, you've got 2 separate gain controls per input. So that means you can mix all 4 channels at once. Of course, you're still governed by 1 set of 3-band EQ, total kill EQs here, for the 2 channels, and everything else like filter and queuing. But still, it's a nice way of mixing these 2 things, and a little bit more versatile than just having a switch. Here is the aforementioned mic channel. It's only an XLR, it's not a combo, so you have to plug an XLR mic straight into there. You can't plug a TRS mic in there. But that, as you can see, is on the top panel, unlike the phones which are down on the front, so no problem trying to wiggle your microphone in if you've got this mounted in something. And the mic channel is completely independent. It's got its own level and 2-band EQ, so you can mix that over and above everything else. So let's move back and have another look at each of these main channels. So as well as the EQ, you've got a filter button for switching the filter unit. We're going to come on to that in a minute, on and off. And then just a straight Q button, and I've got music playing through this at the moment, so you can see as soon as I hit Q, the Q level is showing here, and I can use the 9-band VU meter to get my Q right, i.e. to keep it nicely out of the red, and just pumping away there into the yellow. And then as soon as I turn Q off, that's returned to 0 because we can't hear anything, and then when I bring one of the up faders up, you can see that this is giving me my aggregate of the 2 up faders. So the master won't have any effect on that. This is just the aggregate of the inputs, which is what you want for a main VU. So here's the other input. And then as soon as I hit the Q on there, now I've got the Q monitor for this side as well. So these are working as a Q monitor for both sides, and also with that switched off as a total aggregation of what you're pushing through it. Okay, I wanted to show you the filter, because the filter on here is really one of the things that sets it apart. It's a Very versatile filter. Now the bad news is there's no filter knob down here for each of these. In other words, there isn't an individual filter for each channel. There's just one filter unit and you turn it off and on using this. So if I want to put the filter onto this channel, it's there. And then my control is there for it. That's the high pass filter and low pass is there. What's nice about this is you get the resonance control as well. So it's now almost like a low, turning down the turning down the high and mid frequencies and just letting the low frequency through on the EQs. But the resonance is what introduces that musicality to it. They call it mild to wild. It's nice to have that control there. But the other thing I like about this is that because you've got the filter buttons, unlike a one knob that you have to kind of like move gradually back to the middle, or there is some time delay on that, you can just switch it off like this. So it's instant, it's like a bang. Which allows you to do a lot more precise mixing with the filters, and especially when you've got two channels playing at once, you can then do a lot more messing around with the filters in your mix and pull off some interesting effects. But as I say, it is limited by the fact that there is only one filter engine for both of your channels. Okay, let's have a look at the crossfader. Crossfader is okay. It's not up to inner fader standards or DMC scratch mixer standards. A little bit scratchy, but it's fine. There's a crossfader curve button which just goes from smooth to to hard cut. So that's your hard cut crossfader curve, and this is your very gradual one. Some mixes have a knob to do that, so you get the whole variance in between the two as well. But frankly, I think that's going to be alright for most DJs. There's your house DJ setting, and there's your scratch DJ setting there. And that's about it. I've talked you through most things. Your outputs are for master and for the booth monitor, but also there's a record output on the back there as well, as I mentioned earlier, so you can have a straight fixed level record, which is independent of both of these volume controls here. It's a nice little mixer. There's a couple of things I would have liked to have seen different. I would have liked independent filters on each channel, although the trade-off is that the one filter you do get is really nice. I think this is a bit unnecessary. It would have been nice if the transformer was built into the unit. But for the money, you're getting a well-built mixer. You're getting a versatile mixer. It's got lots of features on it that you don't find on built-in mixers and controllers and so on. And if you're thinking of expanding the way you DJ so that you can use different equipment in different places, so you want to be practicing at home on a real mixer, maybe separating your digital inputs as I've done here, this is a really nice way of starting, and these are great things to have knocking around anyway. It used to be at the heart of every DJ system at home, a little two-channel mixer like this. It's kind of gone out of fashion, but I think most DJs at some point are going to want something like this. This is a really good example of it. The Allen & Heath Xone 23, the only thing you want to compare this to really is the Allen & Heath Xone 23C. If you like this mixer and you're thinking, do I, don't I? The 23C has a built-in sound card, so you don't need something like this in order to use it with Tractor or with any other DJ software. Come to that, because your sound card will just be recognised by your DJ software, and then you can just plug straight into it via USB. That sound card built into the Allen & Heath 23C will not work with a DVS system because it's not licensed to either Serato or Tractor, although it will work with Mix Vibes DVS and other DVS systems that don't require a licensed sound card. So really that'd be a toss-up. There are other good small mixes out there. Pioneer have got a model and so on. But this one has got the Allen & Heath filter on it, the VCF filter, which has always been their selling point. And I think it ticks most boxes. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. Nice little mixer, we've enjoyed using it. And the full review is over on digitaldjtips.com.